On the 28th of September, the 582nd day of the full-scale war, the Ukrainian forces repelled attacks on Bilohorivka, Marinka, Nevelske and Urozhaine. Russian troops tried to regain lost positions near Chervone in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, as well as increase the number of mine-explosive barriers on the Bakhmut front. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook. Information as of 1800 on the 28th of September. Details: 19 combat clashes were recorded during the day. At night, the Russians attacked Ukraine with kamikaze drones, using 39 Shahed UAVs, 31 of which were destroyed by the Ukrainian air defense. In total, the Russians inflicted 76 airstrikes and carried over 40 attacks from multiple launch missile systems on the positions of Ukrainian troops and settlements. The operational situation in Ukraine's east and south remains difficult. On the Volyn and Polisia fronts, the operational situation is without significant changes. On the Syvershchina and Slobodanshchina fronts, the Russians maintain their military presence in the border areas, continuing their bombardments on the settlements from the territory of the Russian Federation, and increasing the density of mine-explosive barriers along the state border of Ukraine. Over 35 settlements in Chernihiv, Sumy and Kharkiv oblasts were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks. On the Kupiansk front, the Russian forces inflicted airstrikes near Kryul, Kupiansk, Biestov in Kharkiv Oblast, as well as Nevelske in Luhansk Oblast. Over 10 settlements were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks, in particular, Krasny Persh, Bilohorivka, Novomlinsk, Sinkivka, Kislivka, Kotlyarivka in Kharkiv Oblast. On the Lyman front, Ukraine's armed forces repelled the Russian attack in the area of Bilohorivka, Luhansk Oblast. The settlements of Torsk, Siversk, Spirna, Vesele in Donetsk Oblast suffered from airstrikes. More than 10 settlements were affected by artillery and mortar attacks, among them Nevsky, Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast, as well as Verkno-Kamianska, Spirna, Vesele, Fedorivka in Donetsk Oblast. On the Bakhmut front, the Russians launched airstrikes near Kostiantynivka and Bilohora, Donetsk Oblast. Over 20 settlements were under artillery and mortar fire, in particular, Orakovo Vasilivka, Bodanivka, Ivanivsky, Klishchivka, Andrivka and Kurdiamivka of Donetsk Oblast. An increase in the density of mine-explosive barriers was also recorded. On the Avdiivka front, the Russians tried 3 times to reclaim their lost positions in the area south of Avdiivka, Donetsk Oblast, but failed. They also inflicted an airstrike near this settlement. Ukrainian defenders successfully repelled the Russian attack in the vicinity of Nevelske, Donetsk Oblast. About 10 settlements were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks, including Stepov, Avdiivka, Tonenki, Sivern, Pervomyska and Nevelske in Donetsk Oblast. On the Marinka front, Ukrainian forces successfully repelled 6 attacks near Marinka, Donetsk Oblast. 10 settlements came under attack today, including Krasnohorivka, Marinka, Antonivka, Katerinivka, Yelizavetivka and Kuriko in Donetsk Oblast. On the Shakhtarsk front, Ukrainian soldiers successfully repelled the Russian attack in the area of Urozhaine, Donetsk Oblast. The Russian forces launched airstrikes near Urozhaine and Staromyorsk in Donetsk Oblast. About 10 settlements were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks, including Vodian, Vuhledar, Prikostivka, Zolota Niva, Urozhaine in Donetsk Oblast. On the Zaporizhzhia front, the Russians tried to recover the lost position in the area of Chervone in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, but failed. The Russians also inflicted airstrikes near Mala Tokmachka and Robotyne, Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Over 30 settlements were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks, in particular, Huliaipol, Mala Tokmachka, Novodanilivka, Orokhiv, Preobrazhenka, Novoyakovlivka in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and Nikopol in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. On the Kherson front, the Russians inflicted an airstrike in the vicinity of Mykolaiivka of Kherson Oblast. Over 10 settlements in Kherson Oblast were subjected to artillery and mortar attacks, including Zolota Balka, Antonivka, Romashkov and the city of Kherson. Quote from the General Staff: "The armed forces of Ukraine continue to conduct an offensive operation on the Melitopol front, and offensive actions on the Bakhmut front, inflicting casualties on the occupying forces in manpower and equipment, exhausting the enemy along the entire front line." During the day, the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine inflicted 13 strikes on the clusters of Russian personnel, weapons and military equipment, 1 strike on an anti-aircraft missile system and 2 on enemy electronic warfare stations. In addition, our defenders destroyed 2 reconnaissance tactical UAVs. Units of the rocket forces and artillery targeted an anti-aircraft missile system, 11 artillery pieces and an ammunition depot of the enemy.